Well, hello and welcome to Tyrrell's Classic Workshop. And this time round, we're looking at the F40 restoration, the Ferrari F40, and doesn't it look beautiful? It's absolutely fantastic. Ryan has done an amazing job at Cheshire Prestige Paintworks of repainting this car, and we've covered that in depth in previous videos in the series parts 1, 2 and 3. Which are worth a watch again. We've also had Tony Willis, probably one of the world's leading classic Ferrari experts, visit the workshop, and he has given us a tour of what we should be looking for, what to over-restore on the car, what to not over-restore, what to not under-restore, trying to strike the middle ground. And we've ended up with a car that is absolutely in a sweet spot in terms of F40s. It's just about right in every way we can conceivably make it right. We haven't cleaned up factory overspray and things like that. It just looks absolutely, and in Tony's and in our opinion, absolutely peachy beautiful, really, in terms of what's been done and what hasn't. The car's back together. We're going to just examine what we've been up to with it recently, and we'll start with Craig's Corner. Well, once again, we find ourselves in you're becoming a legend. You're breaking the internet, Craig. And this definitely does not look like the headlining out of a £2 million car. No. Although it actually is.
Yes.
So this is a piece of moulded fiberglass, presumably.
Yeah, it's...
And what is this? Is this the foam that was disintegrated?
That's sort of the residue of foam that's left over from what, the that's the backing of the headlining. So you've got, a few bits there left on. So I know it's quite nasty. So we'll take that off and refoam it. 3mm scrim foam will do it, right, and it'll look nice again.
This is not recoverable, no?
No. No, there is a limit.
Yeah. The boundaries are... okay, yeah. I mean, that is clearly...
I know.
It's just degraded.
Yes, yeah.
Simple. It's age, Anno Domini.
Yes, yeah.
Wow, that is incredible.
Yeah.
And this is the original material.
Yes, yeah.
And some clever person at Ferrari, or Pininfarina or Scaglietti, whoever it was who made it, actually hasn't even lined up the material properly.
No, as soon as we took it out, because it was obviously because it's on that, you can get a good look at it. So as soon as we put it on the floor, I said, look, it's been trimmed a bit skew with, which it would have been easier to have trimmed it straight because you'd have it on the table. It's another thing if you're doing that.
Yes.
So it's another little quirk,
right,
which we'll replicate.
We'll put it back.
Yes, yeah, like that.
Of course, we do believe in originality here.
Yes.
Even if it was done by Luigi after having a glass too many of vino at lunchtime,
yes, yeah.
I think. Bless Luigi. We love Luigi's. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
That explains why it was starting to. I mean, a lot of modern car headlinings, I say modern when they're 20, 30 years old, they start to sag, don't they?
Yes, yeah. I think you're always fighting gravity.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Yes.
Whenever it was done, it's, you're never going to defeat gravity. There's no glue in the world.
Well.
There's no glue in the world, really, that will defeat gravity. No. So eventually, you've got to do something about it, but and that had just given up the ghost, as you can see.
Yeah. So you're going to have this looking back like new, essentially.
Yeah, it'll look nice because you've got all these sort of
contours,
undulations. So it'll look nice then. Yeah.
Yes. We're using all the right words in this video.
In all the right places.
Exactly. Yes. Craig, that is fantastic. You're going to make mincemeat of this. It'll be absolutely wonderful by the time you finish with it. And actually, it's held in. So this is the front with the sun visors here. It's actually pushed into the back and then screwed up at the front.
Yes. So there's only the screws that hold the sun visors. There's a couple of screws there, but I think they don't really go in through the headlining anyway. And they just keep it in place with you've got the posts at the front. So and that was it. Yeah, and like we said, it's sort of it's pushed in at the back. So,
Right.
but it fits nice, you know.
It does.
Yeah, yes, it does. Yeah.
But it is literally held in by
Yes.
that bit there and
Yeah.
8 screws here,
Yeah, and
essentially.
it's incredibly light, even lighter
Yes.
than.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
A couple of kilos, probably.
Yeah.
Less than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing in it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
As ever.
Okay.
Well, the subject of bladder tanks and fuel tanks in F40s is a very, very interesting one. When they were new, they were, as usual for the US, they were quite different. But the whole fuel system was re-engineered and quite different for the US. The breathing system around the tanks, etc. But also, most importantly, what the tanks were made of. They were actually aluminium or aluminum for the American market right from the get-go, from the factory. And I suspect that bladder tanks like this are not street legal in the US, even though they are safer than aluminium tanks. Obviously, if the car has a serious accident, it wraps itself around a lamppost or something, or somebody T-bones it very badly just behind the door, it's going to go right into the fuel tank if it's deep enough. And the whole point about the bladder tanks is they will absorb the impact, he says, smashing his, his watch. I'll do that again, like that. There is some give in them. With an aluminium tank, there is no give. It bends at best, a seam breaks, it cracks, the fuel leak pours out, and you know, before you know it, you've got a fire on your hands, as well as everything else that's happened to the car and the occupants. So they were a safety-related item. For whatever reason, they were not fitted, as I say, in the US cars. The whole fuel system was re-engineered. It's actually quite interesting how much of it is different for American spec F40s. But the rest of the world had these. This is an original bladder tank that we've got here off an F40. So this is how they came from the factory. It's a rubberized material, aerospace technology. And I remember I was the technical advisor to the Ferrari Owners Club of Andalusia in the south of Spain, which had some very interesting and colourful and famous members at the time. And one of them had an F40, which he'd had from new. This would be about 1998, 1997. And he said to me, my car is dripping fuel from the middle of the car. I can't understand why. And it actually turned out to be this bag tank, or one exactly like it, that was actually gone porous slightly, and it was leaking fuel out of the tanks with a consequential smell, and he couldn't understand where it's coming from. But it was the bag tank was. They were lifed at 10 years when they first came out, and his was not quite that, but not far off it. And yeah. So it needed new tanks. We move on to these. These are the tanks that came out of this car. They're made in Britain, and these are a different material. They're, I don't know exactly what the construction is, but in fact, I'm sure we should find out, Kevlar or something. But they are, again, they will suffer an impact and crush. But the funny thing is, we come onto the subject of insurance, because if you put bag tanks in an American spec car for safety, they won't be, the car will probably be not insured, point blank. And if you put aluminium tanks in a Rest-of-World-spec car, you will probably not be insured either. Your insurance will be invalid. And lots of people in Europe have retrofitted aluminium tanks to F40s because it's a fit and forget situation largely. But it can affect the insurance. The other strange thing is, I've come across this with F40s in Switzerland. The Swiss do an annual inspection, the Ferrari dealers do an annual inspection, and provided the tanks are up to snuff, provided they're okay, they sign them off for another 12 months. And the bag tanks can be, I mean, I know of one F40 in Switzerland that is still running its original factory bag tanks from 1990. Extraordinary, considering they can leak. So it goes to the dealers. Every year they do an inspection, and they sign them off, as they have done year in, year out, and say these are fit for purpose, etc. So Marcus has fitted the new bag tanks that have arrived into their fiberglass carcass that they sit in. So the fuel system is now, we've replaced one other fuel pipe on the engine which was weeping slightly. So the fuel system is all up and running now with its new tanks. The original Ferrari life for these tanks was 10 years. That was what they would underwrite them to. These tanks are 5 years, would you believe? You have to if you want to keep the certification exactly up to full insurable standard, then these need to be changed in 5 years' time. Crazy, but true. Well, thank you very much indeed for your support of the channel, so many of you. It's wonderful. Please do, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, please do press the like or subscribe button. It does make a difference. Thanks. Well, we come again to once more into the breach, dear friends, aka Craig's Corner. Sounds like a title for a YouTube channel, like Craig. Anyway. These are the seats out of the F40, and these are the original seats, aren't they? Yeah. Original material. It's a funny material, this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's and obviously they're really lightweight, aren't they? There's nothing. There's no weight in them at all. But they were just grubby, weren't they? And they were.
Yeah. I mean, these are the as I said, these are the factory original seats. We're going for sympathetic. Yes. Restoration. Our brief is not to tear the car into 1,000 pieces. No. He wants some measure of originality. Yes. Quite right too. Yeah. That's what we try and do here. And you reckon, I mean, there's a little bit there.
Yeah, there was some water damage, and there was bits of grease as well on areas, but I didn't want to go too aggressive on it, obviously. So there's a couple of bits that I'm going to go again at, just small marks, but compared to what they were like, they were really stained, and they just seem to have come up, and they look really vibrant. But yeah, there's little bits here and there. But like I said, you don't want to. You sort of go in at it, clean it up, and then you sort of back off a bit, and then go again, really, to see.
Yeah, sure. It's. I mean, that obviously we want. If you can clean it up, great.
Yes, yeah.
I would venture to say you probably don't see that once it's in the car, actually. But I mean, they look, considering they're 35 years old.
Yes, yeah.
36 years old. They look fantastic, really. You've done a lovely job of bringing them back. And we did take some photographs beforehand, so we can see that they're ready to. You can have another go at these bits, but otherwise they're ready to go back in.
Yes, they are. Yeah. They're worlds apart from what they look like before, really. Yeah. But like I said, you don't want to go too crazy. Just trying to clean the living daylights out of them, really. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And you've also done the headlining super quick as well.
Yes. We okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the. So that's the.
There it is. Look at that. Yeah. And these are the contours.
Yeah.
And you can feel the scrim foam underneath. Is that 3 millimeters, isn't it?
3 mil, yeah. So it had 3 mil on it, and it just degraded. Like the last bit of film that we did. And the trick was trying to get the holes for the sun visors to match up. So as soon as you got that bit right, you could sort of go, but you couldn't pull it too much because these bits they'd stretched, over time. So they still had to hit those points, really, even though there was no holes or anything. They still had to sort of match up with that. Otherwise, you got sort of like a bit of a baggy feeling to it. But you also couldn't stretch it too much because you don't want it fighting with the foam and coming off. Yeah. So yeah, but that's
that's great. Lovely. And you've actually replicated the slightly.
Yes. Yeah, skew width. Yeah, yeah.
We've come across this on dare I say, Italian cars before, haven't we? You remember the Iraqo Silhouette?
Yes. So the
Bertoni show car. This was the Silhouette that was the original show car. I don't know which motor show it was, Paris or Geneva or something. and they'd used the mouse hair material, which we use for dashboards and things, but they'd actually got the bits didn't line up with each other, did they?
No, and there was different sewing. There was some of them. It was like a French seam where it was opened out, and then there's other where they'd just sewn on one side, and nothing really matched up. It was like a number of people had done it, and then they'd come together at the end to try and fit it.
Right. And
But we replicated it. Yes,
you did. You replicated all the mistakes. I mean, because that was the way it was done.
Yes, yeah.
And we were after originality. And it's the same with this. The whole thing is slightly like that.
Yeah.
And we're going to leave it like that. So
Yes,
so this is ready to go back together, isn't it?
Yeah. And also, it would have been a bit of a fight as well to try and straighten it up as well, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
So.
But it would have taken away from the originality.
Yes. Yeah. Either. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's mad, isn't it?
Yes, really? I know. Yeah.
So there it is, the F40 headlining, very thin piece of fiberglass, and that goes under the roof. I've got this the wrong way around. That goes under the roof, slots in at the back, and then your lovely screws, which you have to line up, go there, and that's it. That's all that holds it in.
Yes, that's it.
Right. Well, okay. We'll leave you to put all these bits back in there.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Okay, cheers.
Well, this is all looking fastidiously as it should do, really. But there are just one or two things I want to point out here, really. Obviously, this is like a lot of Ferrari engines of this era. It's effectively, as regards the fueling, the ignition, even the turbocharging, it's two separate systems. So it's two separate four-cylinder engines married into a 90-degree V8. It has got twin turbochargers, but they blow exclusively into each induction system. So it is not it's not a bi-turbo where both turbos blow into the same tube into the engine. It is a twin turbo where one serves four cylinders. This one serves the four cylinders on that bank, and that one, because you've got lengthy induction pipes, serves the four cylinders on this side. This is the wastegate here, which is an old-fashioned way of regulating the turbo boost. So when the turbo boost reaches its maximum, this senses it, and it has a diaphragm in here. When the diaphragm is pushed to a certain point, it opens a valve and bypasses the exhaust gases from the turbos into the exhaust system. That's how a wastegate works. Very simple, really. But it does work very well, and this is actually a very reliable unit. If I think back to the Lotus Esprit Turbo, the wastegate on that was a similar system, poppet valve type wastegate, and it is exhaust manifold cracked, and it didn't actually seat properly, and it ended up over boosting. And I had one in for an engine rebuild years ago as a consequence. Great for the owner. They think, whoopee, the boost gauge is going off the end, the needle's going off the end of the gauge. Be careful. Anyway, I digress. So the air filters here, the air intakes, out of the rear wheel arches where the air is cool. It then goes through the turbochargers, which are down here, one each side, into the intercoolers. And there is no particular, these aren't charged coolers, they're not, there's no water going through these, cool water to cool the induction charge down. It is simply air passing from the, aerodynamically, it sucks it up. It's a sort of almost a ground effect type situation. It's not, but it's that idea where you get the air underneath the car, and then it sucks it up into the engine compartment, and the air comes through here vertically and out the vents in the top. So it's a vacuum type arrangement, which means that these cool the incoming charge into the engine under boost, which is why they are so substantially welded. They're airtight, and they then go into the engine, and that's where the turbo boost comes from. But one of the things about the F40 is the on-off turbo technology. It's like a Porsche 911 turbo from either the 3 litre or the 3.3 from the mid-70s. The turbos took a while to spool up, and this is no exception. You've got two of them here, effectively a 1.4 4-5 litre engine, 4-cylinder engine driving each turbo, but they're off and then they suddenly spool up to well over 100,000 RPM, 10 times the speed of a jet engine. And they, all of a sudden, it all starts to happen. You have your turbo boost and way, hold on to your hats, chaps, because it pushes you back in the seat. So that is the sledgehammer power curve of the F40. About 3.5, 4,000 RPM. The turbos suddenly start coming on, and whoosh, you're off. You've got 3 exhaust pipes here. This is a standard factory fit exhaust silencer. So many of them can be very boomy, the aftermarket exhausts, and this is not quiet when it comes on boost as it is, but it is quiet for driving around towns and all that sort of stuff. So you've got three pipes here. It's supposedly the 2 outlet pipes from each bank, each 1.4 litre 4-cylinder engine, and this central pipe is it's the wastegate pipe. So once the exhaust gases start getting directed through this and not through the turbos, it supposedly exhausts out of there. It doesn't quite, because of the complexities of the box in here, but it's a very, very basic but clever and well-engineered package. What we did notice with these was that obviously the air coming through the intercoolers has got to be able to circulate freely through them. And a lot of these veins are dreadfully sensitive and easily bendable. If somebody leans on that while they're working on the engine, they can bend all these and stop. They can actually effectively shut off the channels that these, the thousands of channels that these make up, and you can actually have a localized hotspot where the air is not able to flow through. So we've meticulously straightened these with a tiny, tiny tool just to get the air to be able to come through them. So there it is. It's all in apple pie order now. It really is. We're looking forward very much to getting this out and about and testing it. The fuel tanks go behind these panels here on each side, and the cooling system, we've noticed that the thermostat is behaving erratically on the cooling system. Sometimes it's over opening, sometimes it's not opening enough to cause a problem with overheating. But the other thing we have also noticed is that the radiator on the front, the electric switch that controls the cooler motors on the radiator, the cooling fans, is not working. It's open circuit instead of switching between open and closed circuit to trigger the fans. So we need to sort that out, replace that. But otherwise, this car is now in fantastic shape, and it looks great, and it should go great too. Well, we've done all this work on this car. It looks amazing. We think it works amazing, but we have to find out. So tune in for next week's episode for something absolutely amazing.